Okay, this lesson we'll look at effects of corruption. We are still looking at corruption, and we're going to look at effects of corruption and areas that are affected by corruption and some organizations that are involved in the fight against corruption. Now, in the previous lesson, we talked about introduction to corruption, and the causes, the social and the economic causes of corruption. What are the effects now of corruption? Corruption, one of them is that it's a birth of capitalist policies. What do you mean by it's a birth of? It makes few corrupt officials rich at the expense of society. Those who are involved in corruption, mainly they get richer than those that are not involved. So it's a birth of capitalist policies. That's one effect. The other effect is that it allows the awarding of job to unqualified personnel just because they wash someone and they give them money and they expect them to do a good job, but in the process they don't do a good job. Okay, such that it enables those who pay bribes to win favors which they are not even entitled to. The other effect is that loss of respect for the rule of law. It interferes with the enforcement of law and the respect for the law of law. It's totally lost. Imagine where people can easily bribe each other. Is there respect for the law? No, of course. There are other effects that low standard of living. It creates, also it contributes to very low standard of living. People begin to suffer, okay, because there are high poverty levels for these ordinary citizens who don't have what to wash or give someone. Another one is that it hampers economic. To hamper is more like not to make something grow, to hold it rigid like that. That's what it means to hamper. So that's what happens. So it hampers what? Economic development. Now, where there is corruption, okay, a country can never develop economically because the resources are being twisted there and there, being moved to the people that are who don't even deserve it. Okay, let's look at the affected areas on corruption. What are some of the areas that are affected by corruption? One of them is the law enforcement. The law enforcement agencies, the police, have sometimes failed to maintain law and order because of corruption. We've seen that. The judicial system, once the judicial system becomes corrupt, certain cases, there's so much degenerating of cases, delayment in the trials and so on and so on. The other one is the electoral process, this voting and so on. All these areas, they are also affected. Leaders and political parties who do not deserve to win, they do what? They end up winning elections. The security of the nation, officers like immigration officers, let's say someone else is coming from another country. Instead of following the correct procedure to become Zambians, they bribe. You see? That means that person who is bribing can even be a criminal and can start killing Zambians and so on. Even the economy is also affected. There are money laundering activity, tax evasion, and other economic issues which lead to economic instability. The education system, this. Bribes are paid in whatever form by candidates to be admitted into learning institutions like schools. They want their candidate to start learning there. What happens? They bribe them, even if there are no spaces. Administration of land matters. Here there's a problem in Zambia. We know that people are given land even when they are not supposed to have land. That's because they have bribed them. The last part is, let's look at the institutions that are involved in the fight against corruption. The first one we talk about is the mother itself, the Anti-Corruption Commission, the ACC, which was established in 1980 and it became operational in 1982. All right. Now, the Anti-Corruption Commission uses the following methods in the fight against corruption. These are the methods. This question comes, by the way, it's either essay or one word. This even multiple choice. These are the methods the anti-corruption uses to fight against corruption. The first one is the corruption prevention. Under corruption prevention, what does it say? Under corruption prevention, the commission examines practices and procedures in private and public sector to facilitate the discovery of corrupt practices. It also makes sure that any work or methods or procedures that are related to corruption are revised. All right, let's say they expect someone to own a house through corrupt practices. That crime won't just end there, but they keep on revising until they find out the matter on how that building or apartment was ended. Now, the Corruption Prevention Department is the one which conducts managerial accountability in this method of corruption prevention. The other one is community education. We've seen the Anti-Corruption Commission of Zambia going into different parts of the country, educating people about causes and effects of corruption. That's one way of corruption prevention used by the ACC. The other one is the investigation and prosecution. Once you are investigated, you'll be prosecuted. If you are found guilty, of course, you'll be prosecuted. The commission receives and investigates complaints of suspected corrupt practices, and where evidence is established, like I said, once you are found guilty, you'll be what? Prosecuted. So that was the ACC, one organization or institution that fights against corruption. The other one is the Zambia Public Procurement Authority. This. The other one is a parliament. Just go there. Parliament. The other one is Auditor's General Office. It also fights corruption. The other one is the Investigators General Office, the Ombudsman. That's the other name for the Investigator General's Office. Sorry. And the other one is the Anti-Money Laundering Unit, which falls under the Drug Enforcement Commission. It also falls under the police section. So the Anti-Money Laundering Unit, it was established in 2001 to investigate money-related issues, how money is moving in, and so on and so on. The other institution is the Zambia Police. So please don't confuse between institutions and organizations. What we've been talking about, they are all institutions. Let's talk about organization. Organization, we've got Foundation for Democratic Process, known as FODEP. FODEP is another organization that fights corruption. It was established in 1991. The other one is the TIS, which is the Transparency International Zambia, whose main objective is to develop sustainable capacity in the civil society, media, and public, as well as private sectors. These are organizations, not institutions.